Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the New Variety Art Show, and my name is Brad Zinn. I'll be your host for this series of programs that we hope that you'll tune in every week here on Channel 32 on Dimension Cable. And we're going to give you an opportunity to meet and greet and learn something about some very interesting, unique, and very entertaining people, the new variety artists of the 90s. And you may well ask, well, what are the variety arts? I know what theater and symphony and ballet and opera are all about, and those sorts of entertaining arts, but what are the variety arts? Variety arts are sort of outside the mainstream of those other areas. They include such things as magicians, clowns, mimes, hypnotists, sword swallowers, psychics, you name it, anything that doesn't quite fit any other category. That's what variety arts is all about. Variety arts has a rich tradition and a very long history, and it has kind of found a new footing, a new foundation, a new life here in the 90s. You're going to see a lot of variety acts in the 90s, and we're going to try to bring you some of those variety acts here to our show and give you a chance to meet these people one-on-one, to get to know who they are, what they do, why they do it, how they learn to do it. And the next time you have an opportunity to encounter a variety artist, you'll have a better appreciation, we hope, for what it is to be a part of the family of variety arts. And before we go any further, I want to say a very warm welcome to a very good friend of mine, our musical director on the New Variety Art Show, Mr. Bill Swayze.
Hi, Brad. How are you?
Very fine. Bill, that was great. I enjoyed that music. Is that something special you did just for us?
Yes, this is original composition for the New Variety Art Show.
Well, but that's what you do, isn't it?
I'm a composer. Yes.
Ordinarily, that's, you know, you work for a lot of big companies writing original compositions for them, and
had a lot of good luck with that. Yeah.
Very good. You're originally from Detroit.
Correct.
A lot of variety arts there, huh?
Absolutely. More and more.
Well, we hope that we can bring more and more to Phoenix as well.
Thank you.
Bill, I can't tell you how excited I am that our first guest on the program is a very dear friend of mine, a very old friend of mine, somebody that we've known each other for quite a while, and it's been a lot of fun over the years. We each have grown and developed and changed and moved into new areas. Mr. Lee Earle is here today, and I don't know, Bill, if you believe in things that go bump in the night, but we're about to find out. Lee Earle is a corporate entertainer, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is that he does, but we'll let Lee tell everybody what it is. First of all, thanks for being here, Lee, to kick off our show, the New Variety Art Show. Why don't you tell everybody what it is that you do now, because it's very specific, it's very specialized.
I perform an unnatural act.
Well, not on this show, you're not.
I don't think so. What I do, essentially, I'm part entertainer, part motivational speaker. And I guess the best thing you could term it as is very close akin to mind reading. And in this type of entertainment that I present, I actually take advantage of a lot of psychological, physiological clues and cues, and it gives the appearance of mind reading, and to many people it may very well be.
So it's along the lines of using your intuition to bring out the best in other people, then.
Exactly so. A lot of people have a very difficult time putting a handle on a lot of the experiences in their daily lives. And so what I do is I try to show people how much of what we might jump to a conclusion and call psychic, for example, is actually manifestations of honest-to-goodness psychological phenomena within the mind itself. I show people that there are more than just the five senses, for example.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of manifestations, you also were involved in some theater work here that was very specialized theater. Can you tell folks a little bit?
I was hoping you'd pick up on that.
Oh, okay.
For 2 years, I ran, produced, directed, worked in the one-man show as Manifestations, The Ultimate Seance, an Evening of Spirit Theater.
Now, why don't you tell people what that is? Because, you know, since television, people have no idea. I know what the story is, but where did Spirit Theater come from?
Well, essentially, Manifestations was a theatrical recreation of a Victorian-era spirit seance. During the days of early Houdini, Arthur Conan Doyle, and others, Teddy Roosevelt, for example, attended seances where they'd sit around a table and contact the spirits. I thought it would be fun to recreate that experience for folks, and we did it on an intimate basis for only 12 people at a time, very exclusive. We ran 2 years. It was the longest running theatrical production, not the most number of shows, but the longest running in tenure in Arizona history.
How about that? Well, I think even Abraham Lincoln had seances right in the White House. But back in those days, there was no television, there was no radio, so that was a form of entertainment, wasn't it?
Now we have variety arts.
Now we have variety arts. Now, you've had a long history in the entertaining arts, the entertainment arts. Can you tell people a little bit about how you got started and where...
Couldn't do anything else.
What your background is?
I was a theater major in college with a minor in data processing. And I worked a great deal in community theater. I also worked with a young post-burlesque entertainer who ran a young boys magic club here in town. As a matter of fact, I performed in some of the last dying gasps of burlesque with one of the famous old Top Bananas, Monkey Kirkland.
Oh, how about that? I'm sure some of our viewers will probably remember him.
I hope not.
But those are the kind of acts that you don't...
these old vaudevillians, these old burlesque show entertainers, these old camp show entertainers had a marvelous ability. These guys were not just people who did an act or did a show. They knew their craft. When you do a show 7, 8 times a day, every day for 3 or 4 years straight, you get to be very good at what you do.
Oh, absolutely.
And having the opportunity to work with one of these old original vaudevillians was really an experience that I will treasure forever. He taught me a tremendous amount. Every time I step on stage, something that I learned from one of these old timers is still with me. So I have nothing but admiration for the old vaudevillians.
Yeah, the old Keith circuit, the Orpheum circuit, the Chautauqua circuit, the Lyceum circuit. Our friends that are watching from back east know probably exactly what we're talking about.
And the short circuit, we can't
And the short circuit, that's right. How, you know, in those days, you would work a circuit. There would be Cincinnati and Poughkeepsie and Jersey and on into New York, and you'd be able to work, what, 18 shows a week or something like that?
I wasn't there.
Well, but certainly we've read enough.
Sure.
And from talking to people, it's 18, 20 shows a week.
Well, and these different circuits were different levels of quality. So that when one finally played the Keith circuit, that was tops. As a matter of fact, many people don't know that the RKO studios came from the Keith Orpheum circuit. It was Radio Keith Orpheum. The old Keith Orpheum circuit merged with some electronics company that became the RKO studios.
But nowadays, you don't have those same circuits, but we have something very similar. And I know you've worked in comedy clubs.
Just barely.
But do you see potential here that perhaps we're developing a new circuit? There's
a fabulous potential for young entertainers to work in comedy clubs. It's a place where comedians can go to pay their dues, as it were. And it is a rough life. There's no question. Rough in the sense of a lot of things to hammer on your ego. Another area that most people don't realize is what I do, and that's corporate entertainment. That is, there must be, at least here in the Valley of the Sun, probably 20 or 25 or more winter resorts, which also serve as convention resorts, meeting resorts. And every time a corporation comes into town, they have entertainment at many of these functions.
And a lot of it is variety arts entertainment.
A great deal of it.
As opposed to just a band. No offense, Bill, but I mean, as opposed to just a band.
Or just a vocalist. Or whatever.
They'll want a magician or someone like yourself or a juggler or something like that to come in and entertain.
Exactly so. And it's a wonderful venue, a great way to make some wonderful money. And at the same time, it's entertainment.
Yeah, and also the college circuit is getting to be very big now.
College circuit is a major source of entertainment. Good dollars there.
Yes, very good. Well, let's talk a little bit more about what it is that you do specifically. When you say you're sort of a cross between an entertainer and a motivational speaker, what would people expect to get from your performance after they've seen you perform? What would you want them to sense, to feel, to take with them after your show's over? Aside
from the fact that I hope it's an enjoyable time they spend with me while the show is happening, I want people to walk away from what I do, what I speak about, feeling a little more enlightened, feeling as if they have a greater control over their mental faculties, because that's what I'm essentially teaching. A lot of what people call ESP or psychic communication or clairvoyance, because they simply don't have any other hook to hang it on, is not that at all. Our subconscious minds are always working, always chewing on data, while our conscious minds may very well be thinking of listening to the text, the intellectual content of a message. Our subconscious mind, through our eyes and our other senses, will be picking up nonverbal communication, and our ears picking up intonation, inflection, vocabulary. Our eyes are picking up body language, micro-expression, style, posture. All of those things put together can quite often add up to a greater truth than what you're being told. For example, have you ever met someone for the first time and you said, I don't trust this person? It turns out you were right later. Mm-hmm. Who told you?
Yeah.
How did you know? Was it written all over his face? The answer is yes, it was. It was written all over his entire being in his nonverbal communication. And that's what I specialize in, is teaching people that their intuition, that subconscious mind, gut feeling, if you're a man, that intuition is a tremendous source of knowledge, but first you have to believe it exists, you have to acknowledge it, and second you have to, like any other muscle, use it or lose it. You've got to exercise it, you have to take advantage of it. The more you do, the more aware you become of how successful it is. And people who work, for example, in the psychic business, who do readings, all right?
This is something I'm sort of familiar with. Yeah.
Understandably.
Okay.
They, with all honesty, believe that they are tapping into some psychic source. Now, they may very well be. I'm not prepared to dispute that. But the fact is, from my point of view, what they're actually tapping into is what their subconscious is telling them. So, for example, when they tell someone that you have a very strong need to be appreciated and for others to admire you, not for the externals, but for who you are on the inside, you found it unwise to be too frank in revealing yourself to other people. You don't accept new ideas easily without satisfactory proof. Many of your aspirations tend to be a little unrealistic. At times you are affable, outgoing, effervescent, other times strangely withdrawn, moody, quiet. Now that, I think, would be a good description of you. I was just, what I was just doing was, through my subconscious, pulling all of that from you. And we all do it, we just don't know that we do it on a conscious level.
So you have to pay more attention to what's going on up here that maybe is more suppressed, that people tend not to listen to.
Not allow your intellectual mind, your left brain, to screen out what your right brain is trying to tell you.
Okay. So that's what you help people to discover, basically.
Yes.
But in an entertaining way, and with concrete examples and demonstrations.
Absolutely.
Of how that intuitive power can be used.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, I know that a little bit later we're going to see some clips of you in actual performance doing some stuff like that, and a little bit later we're going to do some stuff here live in the studio so that people at home can see exactly what it is that you do.
I certainly hope so.
And now, this all sounds very innocent, but when you perform for groups of people and you're doing amazing things, even though you might say, well, that's intuitive powers at work, I'm sure that there might be some people who are perhaps a bit more superstitious, that might feel that you are really tapped into some dark power, and what you do is dangerous and something that they feel there's something not right about. What would you say to those people that would feel that maybe you're too
weird.
Spooky? Yeah.
Well, you know, I did have that 666 tattoo removed from my forehead. Thank you, Bill. I have no answer for that. Essentially, I'm dealing with scientific phenomena, those things which are based in clinical psychology on a very casual basis. And for those folks who wish to ascribe some other motivation, I have no logical way to refute that, because there's nothing logical about that conclusion to begin with.
Let's talk a little bit about this film clip that we're going to see, because we're going to roll that in just a couple of minutes. This is a couple of clips from, I think, 2 different shows that you've done. And the first one, you get a lady up from the audience. Why don't you set this up for folks so they know what basically they're going to see?
Essentially, these are reference videotapes that I made simply putting a camera in the back of the room so that I could later critique my own performance. Nonetheless, one of these was in Chicago at a convention of rather interesting entertainers. Mm-hmm. It was called the Invocational, and a rather eclectic group. And I was asked at the last minute to step in and take the place of someone who was ill. So I couldn't say no. It was an honor. So this is a technique. In speaking to the woman early on, I give a short reading to her, both to relax her and let her know that I'm in tune with her.
So this is what people could expect if you were to ask them to come up on stage?
One of the many things.
Okay, okay. In case you've just joined us, I want to reintroduce our guest today, Mr. Lee Earle, who's a corporate entertainer. He is a speaker, a motivator, and does some incredible things with the powers of intuition. The next portion of the clip that we're going to see is at another show, I believe. And what are we doing there is something about putting things in a bag, I think.
What I'm demonstrating there, it's what people in the New Age community will call psychometry. They will tell you that each of us has emanating from us a spiritual power, a radiance, an aura. And that aura, much as a needle rubbed across a magnet can transfer the magnetic field, likewise an item that you wear, like a ring or a watch or whatever, will absorb the aura of the individual, and by looking at that aura you can tell a great deal about the person from whom it came. My simple contention is I'm not using auras. I am using, however, some Sherlock Holmesian observation and logic.
Well, I think it's time now for us to take a look at the tape. This is Lee Earle in performance.
I'm going to turn you on. Please give the lady a welcome. Well, good evening. Right up here on the hot spot. Your name is? Hello, Mona. Ladies and gentlemen, Mona is understandably a bit nervous, so please give her every possible consideration. May I see your left hand, please? There are the major lines of the hand. There is the love line, otherwise known as the heart line. Line of intellect, the line of life. On your emotional line, you're right about here right now. Not exactly the highest point of your life. You're looking back, looking forward. You're a great deal more assertive than you used to be. You're the type of person who emotionally isn't going to be anyone's doormat anymore, I would suspect. Isn't that right? You have a tendency to be a bit too stubborn, especially when someone tells you you can't do something. That's when you dig in your heels, grit your teeth, and prove that you can. In any event, also, you're quite intelligent. I think most of your life you've learned to kind of hide that under a bushel, haven't you? Hiding that light under the bushel. You allow people to underestimate you so that you can close with a fast finish. Gotcha, yeah. Scary, isn't it? Yeah, your lifeline, by the way, is a good, long, firm lifeline, firm, strong, all the way to the very end. I see you taking up new hobbies, opening a new book on your very last day on this earth. You'll not be dependent upon anyone. You'll not be a burden. Healthy all the way to the very end. I see a long life and a very healthy heart. You're a very lucky lady. Feel better now? Good. Now.
Well, now that we've broached that subject, you're not sure you can take a vote, okay? This is the type of thing that would be worn and chosen by someone who has a very particular set of values. And that's those old-fashioned values of generosity and sharing and caring. The type of person who would choose and wear something like this is the type of person that I call it someone who has healing hands. I think this lady has the type of personality that if she's around someone who's ill or infirm or just out of sorts, you probably have the inclination to get close and touch and hug. Isn't that right? Okay, Lucille, the first thing I'm going to do, now let's be perfectly fair for a moment. Lucille, you turn your back just for a second. Okay? All right. I'll make it kind of simple. It's not going to be real complex. I'm not, but it's a nice design. I mean, not that it matters, but... No, not yet, not yet. I want to pull it up nice and small, so you can see it. And then, okay, now it's safe. Put your rose. And I'm going to piece of paper for you. Get you started. There's the pen. There it is. Now, don't do anything yet. Don't do anything yet. And don't let anybody see what you're drawing until it's through, because those they were peeking over your shoulders. Okay, Lucille, here it comes now. We practiced out front. This time it's for real. I know you can do it. When you feel my mind touch yours, start drawing. You all saw what it was that I drew? I showed it to you? Lucille? I want you to take a look at how well you did. Ladies and gentlemen, a large round of applause for a very talented lady.
How did you do that?
Hi, that was Lee Earle doing what he does best, live and in performance. And Lee, that last little bit that you did there was what you've told me is called a design drawing
duplication
effect, or a test where you have her draw something and then you duplicate
I
it?
drew it, and actually she pulled that information subconsciously from me.
So you drew it and she duplicated what you drew.
Yes.
That's incredible. That's
It beats working for a living.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
hardly
that.
ever seen. Gee whiz. Well, I understand that you have a, and they did match, by the way, in case it was a little hard for folks to see it on the tape.
The tape, again, wasn't intended for actual broadcast. It was
We
for
understand.
critique.
Right.
Yeah, they were both. I drew a Star of David,
Uh-huh.
and she drew a star as well. I'm not sure
Incredible.
whether it was a six-pointed star or five, but she drew a star.
Well, you're going to use somewhat the same technique, is that right?
Yeah.
To work now a demonstration with our musical conductor, Bill Swayze.
With Bill. Hi, Bill.
Hi, how are you?
Bill, a little earlier, you and I got together, as a matter of fact. We stood outside, and I asked you, if you would, to take a... Hey, you have the lock right here.
Oh,
as a
yes,
matter of
right
fact.
here. This is the one we were working with. Yep.
Yeah, it's a master lock, not exactly bulletproof, but one dials in whatever number one wishes to between these two little red lines, and when the appropriate combination is reached, it will open up. And so what I did was I asked Bill if he would to set a random combination on here. This can be...
You can set it to anything you want?
Yeah, these are about $10 in your Home Depot store. And they come in various colors. And by the way, they're not the world's most secure lock, because you could take a pocket knife and cut away these plastic rings and access the center of the lock. So I can't recommend it as a secure lock.
Probably a Houdini lock of some kind.
But what it does do is it does serve to, pardon the pun, lock in the number which he programmed. I'd like to hand this to you if you would.
I did set one. I set a combination on there.
Yes, I asked Bill to set a combination, and I asked him to remember it, because this is important.
That's right.
What I'm going to try to do is to pull that combination from you in a rather unique way.
How do you do that? That's
well, let's...
Christian Science and rubber bands is exactly how it works. Now, first of all, you're familiar with poker players, Bill. You've heard about someone who doesn't have a good poker face. Someone who, for example, when he gets a royal flush, his eyes go wow, about that big. Right away, everybody else folds.
I
and
know
you
of
wonder-
what you speak.
All
yes.
right. So, do you have a good poker face?
No.
Good. I think this will work well. What I would like for you to do, there are 4 digits in that combination. And I want you to think of the first digit. If the combination was 1, 2, 3, 4, think of the 1. I hope I didn't guess it, but whatever it is, that first digit,
said
I want you
random,
to place it in your
random.
mind. All right? Do you have it in your mind? Are you thinking of that first digit?
Yes.
I want you to look me right in the eyes, right
Yes.
here. And I want you to think of it, concentrate on it. Don't fight me, but don't give anything away either. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8. Set 8 as the
How does
first
he-
digit,
how does he
Brad.
do that?
This go left to right?
As in a normal number. Yes, set 8 is the...
8 is
As
the
if it was
first
an
number.
address or a phone
Okay.
number.
Exactly so. The second digit... Bill, you're a person who deals a great deal with music. I suppose you've heard about voice stress analysis, things of that
Yes,
sort.
yes, I have.
You don't appear to be under a great deal of stress right now.
Not today.
We'll fix that. Bill, I'd like for you to think of the second digit,
Okay.
please. By the way, what is your full name?
William Swayze.
William Swayze. William Swayze, as you're thinking of that digit, do as I did. Count the digits 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, it's at 3. 3, I think, we'll
Okay.
do nicely. What I want you to do now, Bill, is to point at the lock over there. Just point at it. Put
That one, right
yeah,
there,
right there. Put that third digit in your mind. I'm thinking I say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. Yes, that's 6, if you would.
Okay.
And finally, the last digit, I'm going to reach into your mind. I'm going to pull it out using the Vulcan mind meld. Just
do.
think of that digit. Will you
Okay.
think of that digit?
Sounds logical.
7. Set 7 on that.
Okay.
Hold it up and see if that
All
baby
right,
will pull
so
open.
8, 3, 6, 7. Can we get over here again? And look.
You got a good
How does
mind,
he
Bill.
do that? That's
Gee,
great.
How did you do it?
Lee, that's fabulous. I can't thank you enough for being with us here today on our kickoff show for the New Variety Arts. Folks, in the coming weeks, you're going to see hypnotists, you're going to see jugglers, you're going to see all kinds of wonderful things. So we want you to tell your friends, tune in each week to the New Variety Arts show. And here we go, saying goodbye and support variety arts in your community.